Okay, so I was thinking, like, in regards to plot hooks, what would be something in real life that would hook you enough that it would make you go into a real dungeon?
If a person came running out with an armload of like gold coins and he says, "There's so much more, can you help me get it all?"
Oh,
I would run into that
you
dungeon.
would? That just sounds like a trap. That's like a guy in a van saying, I have candy in the van. But for
Okay,
adults.
maybe it would be someone I know. It's someone I already know.
See, I was thinking, it would be like, okay, my wife is in there. Like, captured.
Oh no.
Oh,
She's dead.
Absolutely not.
I know exactly what
You'd
would
have to
get
weigh
me
your options.
in a dungeon.
Okay, I'm very interested in what would take
So
to get David.
I'm just imagining, walking down a street and I see a homeless man, or what I think is a homeless man. And I'm walking by, I hear him like talking to himself, but he's actually like trying to talk to me. And then I listen to him for a second, the polite thing to do. And he's like, "Oh, there's treasure in that dungeon over there." And he like pulls out like a gold coin, and it's like an actual gold coin. I'm just like, "Oh," and I'm just like, "That's weird." And then I continue on, and then I turn back to look around, and he's just vanished. That would get me in. Just sign me up.
That's actually pretty good. That's actually, yeah. Like, if
I feel like
gives you a
I would
quest,
be so confused.
someone gives you a quest and then disappears. Like, I mean, that would make me more inclined to go on that quest, I think, or maybe less inclined. I don't know.
No, I'd be like, get me in there. I want to see what's up.
Welcome to Vox Arcana. I'm William.
I'm Jake.
I'm David.
And this is a Dungeons and Dragons podcast, episode 4, Plot Hooks. What makes a plot hook great?
Oh, okay. Plot hooks. This is my jam. This is my bread, butter. Wait, if it's my bread, butter, and jam.
What is a plot hook, Jake?
Okay, plot hook is just anything to get a character motivated to do something adventurous. And that is my definition that I just made up. But I think it's basically what DMs use to get their players, or subtly hint their players, sometimes not so subtly. It is the proverbial call to action, and it provokes adventure. So usually there's like, the way I've heard a lot of people describe it as verbs. Like you could just say, rescue the princess. That is a plot hook. But a lot of times you can boil it down to just one action verb. And it makes it really concise, really simple, especially when you're planning. Because then if you have that one action verb, you can kind of expand later on. But some examples are like kill, find, destroy, converse. What are some other ones?
Infiltrate.
Consume.
Escape.
Okay, hold on. We got to stop at consume. Consume.
How was that
no,
a quest?
okay, let me
Hygiene
justify
contest.
this. So you are in a drinking contest, and you have to consume more than the other person.
That's actually good. You know what?
I feel like this is not a very good quest.
It's not a
more
good
of side
quest, but that counts as a hook.
I didn't say it was
even
good.
if it's simple. Like you could even say like a hook would be win, and it could be win a race or win a contest.
Ooh.
I mean, let's just do what is your favorite, like, one action verb plot hook?
One action verb.
So just one word that you like, that's one of your favorite quests to do, or your favorite hook to dangle in front of the players.
Well, in honor of us playing a game called Dungeons and Dragons, I think the word kill is really powerful. Because the reason we're playing D&D is because we want to hit stuff with swords and we want to cast spells. And a lot of quests. In fact, probably, I'm no statistician, I think most D&D quests,
I'd say at least
at some point involve the word kill.
0.5% would be, if my math's correct. But yeah, no, I definitely think kill is a great... I mean, it's just a standard, It's just like we talked about a lot on this podcast. It's a trope.
Bread and butter.
Yeah. And I think also you can expand out kill to be a lot of other things. You can get even more specific, because kill is kind of vague. So you could make it execute, or eradicate, or assassinate.
Yeah.
See, I love the idea of being sent by like a church or something to go and execute.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Right. Like
yes.
He's in this abbey at the top of the hill. He has started a cult basically, and you have to go stop him. That's a great plot.
One of my characters that I really, really am itching to play, if someone could DM for me, is a rogue that is lawful good that just follows his church completely, and his church just orders him to execute heretics.
So he's like an inquisitor.
Like I just,
Oh.
yeah.
I freaking
But it's a
love
rogue,
that, Jake.
which is like traditionally such a scoundrel, but but play him like a paladin. Like, I love that concept.
That's juicy.
Okay, so what are there any more for kill that you guys can think of?
Well, you can just, for any of these verbs, you can take the opposite of it and you still get good quests.
Yeah.
So the opposite of kill would be protect or defend or conceal.
Yeah.
Right? Save the person.
Save, yes.
Right?
Save,
this village is on the edge of a volcano that's going to erupt.
Mm-hmm. That's good. I think, for me, my personal favorite is escort. I love like escort missions because it gives me as the DM an NPC that can either be a good friend of the heroes or it can be it could just be like a snobby, annoying, arrogant rich person who's just paid them a lot of gold to transport them somewhere, or it could be a serial killer that you're transporting to prison, that's always trying to charm his way out of your clutches. There are so many options I actually used that in one of my campaigns. Was they had to transport like a man who had killed like at least 100 women and children. Oh god! Like he's just a standard mass murderer. Just your run-of-the-mill mass murderer.
I think you're saying he's a standard D&D character.
Yeah, I mean, he's a murder hobo who actually has reproductions. So they were escorting him, and he acted super normal. Like he was like a sociopath. Like he was very charming. And some of my characters were eventually like, I kind of like this guy. And then he eventually like weaseled his way out and escaped. But like I just love escort missions. So I think my favorite action verb for a plot hook is escort.
Interesting.
David?
I think for me, there's a lot out there, and it's pretty close, but I'd have to say probably infiltrate, because it's really just trying to go into a location that is hostile or a threat. Mm-hmm. And then you go in, you're trying to either steal something or get information or maybe assassinate someone. It makes some really compelling stories where you can send players into an area which they might not want to be in, and it's not necessarily required of them to kill or murder people. It's just kind of, you got to be in this danger zone.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
I like that because it adds, it's like a hook that leads to other hooks.
Yes.
Because infiltrate naturally will lead to steal or rescue or destroy. You know, it leads to another thing. Hooks that lead to other hooks are also super useful.
That's really cool because I feel like infiltrate really is this perfect broad plot hook, because anytime you put the players in danger, that's when the game is the most interesting. And so if you're, let's say, traveling with an enemy army, pretending to be part of their army for whatever reason, they're in constant peril. And that's going to change the decisions they make. And I just love it.
Yeah. I mean, the more I think about it, like, hooks that lead to hooks, that's basically just what a campaign is.
Pretty much,
it's just hooks that lead to hooks. Like, because the more I think, even the standard, what we talked about earlier, kill. Like, say you were to go kill a big beast in the forest. Then your next logical hook would be transport, because you'd have to transport the body back. Or, you know, loot it and take the loot back. You know, it naturally leads to another hook. And I think DMs can find themselves in binds when they leave a hook dangled out and the players succeed very quickly. And then they don't have a hook after. And so it leaves them hanging on the hook.
So talking about this has just made me realize that the types of verbs that you use in your campaign for your hooks determines the type and tone of your campaign. For instance, Let's look at like Harry Potter's verbs versus Game of Thrones. Harry Potter's would be kind of whimsical, right? Like it's win the contest and do your homework and get in an argument with your classmates, right? Like they're kind of like soft and with occasional peril, right? Like, defeat the Dark Lord. Scary. But then Game of Thrones is just like freaking kill,
murder,
like survive, travel. Like what's a verb for intrigue, right? Like lying, deception, infiltration,
deceive. That's so true. Like even when you look at verbs, like verbs they range from kind of soft to severe, and like you can obviously kind of, if you look at it, go back through your campaign and look at what your hooks were along the way, you can kind of tell the tone of the campaign by the hooks.
Oh yeah. I wonder if there's a way to like graph them and somehow like you assign severity to words.
Oh yeah.
Because ideally, your campaign should really build into a more serious finale. At least if you're running sort of episodically, season to season of your campaign.
That's true. I mean, I'm kind of looking at this through the two things you mentioned, Harry Potter and Game of Thrones, and they actually kind of have opposite arcs. Like Harry Potter starts off as very whimsical and childish and kind of family friendly, and then gets slowly darker and darker and more serious. Whereas Game of Thrones starts really just dark and gritty and grim, and then it introduces more and more fantasy without spoiling anything. Introduces more fantasy elements, and it kind of becomes more noble and heroic in some forms.
Yeah, it kind of lightens up in some ways.
Yeah. So, you can really kind of map plots based on it really well, surprisingly well.
Interesting. I wonder if I could do kind of a workup on different novels and movies and just sort of list, like, here's the main, the main verbs of the story. And you can analyze that.
Yeah.
But that's beyond the purposes of our discussion.
Okay, so what makes a good hook and what makes a bad hook? So how can you tell apart, a good hook from a bad hook?
So for me, I guess the hook is based off of the success of whether or not the group of players follow the book. I mean, put simply.
So if it's not compelling enough?
Yeah.
Wow.
If it's not,
that's good.
If it doesn't draw them to action, then it's not necessarily a good hook.
Yeah, we just saw that actually in the campaign that I'm running, in my city hex crawl adventure, where I gave them a plot hook that said, like, hey, some of your food is missing from your camp, like you don't have a way to get more, and you see footprints leading off. And David literally says, nah, not interesting. And he just continues on with the quest. And I was just like, oh, okay.
Funny.
Like, it was a cool quest, but whatever, dude. But the problem was, like, no matter how good the quest is, all the players see is just what's right in front of them.
That's true.
And so, some sort of non-pressure scenario, which is food, which is not really a factor. And then footprints, again, like, that's probably going to lead to danger, right? Like, why take a risk? And there was no urgency. There was no clear reward. I learned a lot, but really just from writing one poor hook.
No, that's super interesting.
I was just going to say one other thing on good and bad plot hooks for me is doing it without having an NPC approach the players. Saying, like, hey, can you go save my child who is trapped by goblins? Like, that's really kind of boring to me. And if you can do it without having an NPC approach and manually, like, give them a scroll with a quest written on it, that's just, I think that makes it more compelling and more interesting.
It's interesting that you say that because recently I'm trying to get more into storytelling through the world and what the players are seeing. And so let's say you go into a village and there's no people alive to give you a quest, but you see dead bodies and you see a trail of blood leading off into the woods. There's no NPC, but you definitely have created a quest in a way that as far as David is concerned, is a much more interesting inlet into the quest.
Yeah, and I think you can also play with kind of the idea of a quest giver, or like an NPC plot hook. You can either make the person coming up being like, oh, please, sir, you need to find my daughter. She's been taken by goblins. And that person could be a lich in disguise that's trying to lead you off into a cave to ambush you. You could do something like as simple. This is a very, very simple plot hook, which is a wanted poster. And you could have a wanted poster up, and that the players would be on the lookout for that person. But that wanted poster could have been put up by the bad guy. So I think there's ways you can kind of play with the NPC typical quest
Play with
giver
the expectations and
sort
just
of
kind
hook.
of subvert them, which is
Yeah.
that also makes them fun.
Sounds like you're a big fan of twists, huh?
Oh, I mean, I'm a huge fan of twist and just trope aversion, or not aversion, subversion. And I think it's really rewarding to my players. Hopefully, we might have to do a poll. And I love it because when you subvert tropes enough, they will meet someone and they will be skeptical. You know, they won't just be like, "Oh, he's a king. He says he's a good king. People like him. He must be a good king." You know, they're very like, "Well, I don't know if we can trust him yet," even though he has given no signs of being. But just kind of a little tangent. When I first started playing D&D, we played a superhero type D&D called Super Random that we created back when I was in high school. And we'll probably we got to show that off in some way. It's a great system that we kind of jury rigged.
Oh yeah.
It's great. So basically, you roll and get powers and your superheroes. I introduced an NPC to the group of superheroes, who ended up being the bad guy. Now, this was the first time any of these people had played any role playing at all. So I introduced this NPC. They trusted him completely, and then he betrayed them and was the bad guy. So I noticed from then on out, every NPC that I introduced, they immediately distrusted.
Oh my
Because the first NPC that they experienced was a villain in disguise. So I was like, dang it. So I think there is a fine line.
You ruined that.
I know. So there's a fine line to play between trope subversion and just trope fulfillment, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Some tropes should just be completely normal. And that will seem weird if you're in a universe where tropes are often defied.
I remember my sister telling me about a campaign she played in online, and literally every NPC was an evil, disgusting traitor. She said there was no good people in the world. And it was just really exhausting because it's like, well, what's the point if you're interacting with NPCs who are exclusively bad? So I think there is a balance here.
Not every old lady can be a sea hag.
There's a lot of sea hags in this village.
So, okay, I have a question. So we listed off a bunch of hooks. What are some hooks that are, in your opinion, just bad? Just bad, one verb hooks.
Ooh.
Oh, so really it's just bad verbs. I think, explore generally can be bad because usually it's just leading to better, it's vague. There's better verbs. Like I can go say kill, and they're going to explore on the way to
that's a good point,
killing.
yeah.
Or even escort. Anything that's weak.
Go.
I think one,
go is as vague as it gets.
B. No, I think one for me that's annoying is collect.
Yes.
It just feels kind of like a video game one. Another one...
Bring me 10 wolf pelts.
Another one that's kind of can be good or bad. This was kind of on the edge. Is guard. Because guard can be very similar to wait.
Oh, no.
And that just makes it...
Wait is a bad one.
Yeah, it just makes it kind of boring. And I think oftentimes that is the problem, in my opinion, with short and long rests in D&D sometimes. Is because they can just appear like, oh, I'll keep watch, whatever. Yeah. It's just kind of, it's not as severe unless you really scare them with stuff in the night.
I think another one that can be bad is survive. Because that's kind of what your characters are already inherently doing. So
yeah, that's true. That's like, play D&D.
Just exist. Like, am I not doing that?
I think we should list and discuss some basic plot verbs and try to build it into a really good quest, just to show how easy it is.
Just like right now?
To make really good.
Ooh, I'm excited.
Yeah, okay. Let's choose 5 of them. I'm going to choose kill. That's my favorite.
I'll take 2. I'll take collect since it's our least favorite, and we got to spice it up. And I'll say talk to, because that's another one that can be kind of boring.
Okay, let me do 2 then. Negotiate and escape.
Right. So we have kill, collect, negotiate, talk to, and escape?
Yes.
All right, so here's how I would make a quest. There's a great blog I read that I'll probably link in the show notes on the blog. It talks about you don't prep plots, prep situations, and the plot will flow naturally out of it. For example, let's talk about Harry Potter. In Harry Potter, in the second book, he winds up underground with a basilisk who's super dangerous, right? So the situation of the books kind of funnels him into this area. So his quest was not go find the basilisk and kill it. That's boring. It's just where he is now, and now he needs to get away or kill the basilisk, right? So the situation sets up the quest. So let's create a situation for our 5 verbs. So we've got kill. Where do we want to start, Jake?
Oh, okay. I mean, do we start with... Here's the thing. We can make this hard on us because I feel like escape is a natural conclusion and talk to is a natural starting point.
Yeah.
So
let's make that harder. Let's reverse those.
Okay.
Let's do Elder Scrolls.
Okay. Yeah. So first one. Okay. Let's start with escape. So, okay. We are escaping. So what are the characters escaping from and where are they trying to get to?
Oh, I have an idea.
Okay.
So I'm going to take this really heavy.
Okay.
It's going to be dark. So listen up. This is a genocide. A new ruler has taken over the land, and he has called for the extermination of a certain type of person or magic user, whatever you want. So you are escaping from your village or your city, whatever, from certain death.
Okay. So I like that. That's severe. That's scary. That's good. Okay. So escape from genocide from people. So do the people look a certain way? So are they going for like a certain race? Like, are they hunting down all halflings or half-orcs? Or are they trying to root out magic users? Or we're the DMs here, so we can kind of pick that.
So what I'm kind of imagining right now is you have a village and this new ruler. You have essentially like horsemen are coming in as well as a bunch of soldiers. One of them comes in, makes a decree over like the village, and you're there listening, and you realize that you're a part of this group they're trying to round up. So you're here.
Let's just say it's magic users.
Yeah, let's just say magic users.
And they can detect magic, so they just basically have to cast a spell on you to figure it out.
So you're in the middle of the crowd, and you have to react because they are like right in front of you, and you cannot stay for long.
Okay, I like that. Okay, so that's escape. So then we would let the players choose, but what would escape lead into? What would be the next hook that would be dangling before their eager faces? So we have kill, collect, negotiate, and talk to.
So I'm imagining that for me, the next one of the easy ones to go into would be to negotiate. So you're trying to negotiate with someone for hiding. You run into, as the players are running away, they run into
Escaping.
an NPC, and they have to negotiate their way into seeking refuge of some sort.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe they can seek someone who will get them out of the general area. So they'll be talking to like a smuggler or.
See, you said talk to, so I'm going to change that. I think it should be talk to.
Okay.
And they should talk to kind of a Han Solo type NPC.
Yes.
That has an easy way out. Potentially an easy one is a mage, wizard that can cast teleport.
Oh.
And they have to convince this mage to let him out.
This is working. No. So he can cast teleport, but he doesn't have the stuff.
Oh.
So he needs them to somehow collect the reagents.
And then we get the crappiest action verb and put it right there as a hook. That's perfect. Yeah.
I think we can make it interesting. How can we make collect interesting?
Okay, I like having to collect stealthily, like, because as this is happening, I'm imagining, this invading force or these horsemen are coming in to root out and kill all the magic users. You'd have to get materials from certain houses without being caught by them.
I was imagining that even the invading force has the materials that you need to collect from. So
so you have to pickpocket? You have to steal?
Yeah, so you'd have to, infiltrate and kind of collect it from them because they have the resources that you would require to get out.
What if you set it up like a heist? So if they're occupying this village, you wait till night, you go to some bar where the guards are partying, and you just you can gamble with them, you can bribe them. There's some Inglorious Bastards stuff.
Oh, I love that.
You set it up like a scene, like a heist almost.
Okay, so we went from escape to talk to collect. I like this now. I like it going into negotiation. So I'm imagining at this point, they're collecting materials, but they need one more material, and the only person who has it would be like a guard. or one of the evil people.
Yep.
But they're
like a higher ranking guard.
and they're in the tavern and they're drinking, and so they're kind of intoxicated, and so it would be about negotiating over whatever they have with the advantage of them being drunk.
I think it's interesting. It'd be a great scene.
Yeah, and so.
But wait, so we haven't used kill yet.
So kill would be the last thing. Maybe, I mean, you could... Okay, hear me out. So you get all the materials. So somehow hopefully the players are successful with their negotiation. If not, change of plans. And as a DM, as a good DM, you'll have plenty of other verbs available, hopefully. Mm-hmm. So if you get what you need from this negotiation, the last thing left is kill. So I think on the way out, they're like, we need to slow this genocide. So it would be poisoning the food of the leader before they go through the portal. So then they can leave knowing that the head honcho, the head of the snake, is cut off.
Oh, okay. So I'm going to add to that.
Okay,
I love this. So you slip the poison into the guard or whatever.
The high ranking, yeah.
And you get back to your wizard who's going to cast a spell, but it's a ritual, so it takes him a few minutes. As he's doing his thing, the guards come in. They were onto you. They
that's
follow
good.
You back to your
that's
thing.
good.
And you have to protect this wizard as he's doing his thing. So you have to kill, right?
Yeah.
Like this is
forcing
defend.
Do or die,
really.
yeah.
But it's do or die.
That's good.
And so then you have this exciting final battle and this great escape. And that's, frankly, a great opening quest.
Oh my god, and I love it because the first thing also became the last thing. Like, escape was the greater hook, but all the other hooks were worked into escape.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Gee, damn, that was fun.
I want to do that more.
We should brainstorm quests together.
I just want to do that 100 times.
I
think that's also the bonus of having other people, and this is good DM advice. When you're stuck and you're like, I can't think of another plot point, or even something as basic as I can't think of a good enough name for this NPC, text people and ask just like, what's a good name for a bartender? What's a good plot hook for my characters who are in this situation?
Yeah.
Because as we're talking here, like, I'm realizing like the ability to bounce ideas off other people, especially when they have Dungeon Master experience, is just insane. It's like it's orgy of innovation.
Yeah.
To put it mildly, yes.
And I love it because you can switch those 5 and completely change.
Yeah,
everything.
it's a completely different quest.
You can have the same situation, and you can switch the order, and So I think that really nails home the point of action verbs being so great in just kind of mapping out a plot or mapping out a scene.
Mm-hmm. I might just steal this opening quest for my next adventure, honestly.
It sounds really good.
But like I said earlier, you also have to have not necessarily backup plans, but other options, other forks in the road. If they fail at the negotiation, if they fail even the second one of talking to the wizard, if they somehow offend the wizard, they're gonna have to find another way out of town.
Like escaping the crowd, like then they're locked.
Yeah,
up, and they have to negotiate with the guard or escape the jail, like whatever.
Yeah, so it would change it. So. That's the art of DMing, is the improvisation of getting new hooks when your other ones are not.
Yeah, right on
bitten.
the spot.
I think we're ready to move into the
Let's
vault.
get that treasure.
Okay, so the question vault for this week is, what is your favorite magic item?
I feel like David is a big fan of magic items.
I love magic items as a player because I love breaking the game. Like, I will shamelessly say that because there's so many things that you could do with just magic items.
I don't really use a lot of magic items in my game because I play with David and David tries to break the game. So I'm very hesitant to give them out. But on the other hand, they're really fun and they just add such a good variety and spice to the game. So I think my favorite item, really just on paper, because I've never really given this out, is any of the wand items. So like wand of fireball, or because they cast spells. But from what I've seen from limited use items is that players just don't use them. They always wait for a better moment to use this
and it never comes along.
and they never use it. So it's like, I just gave you an awesome thing that's too awesome to use. And I love seeing analysis paralysis like that.
Yeah, that's cool. I've got a long list of awesome magic items. So, kind of going along with plot hooks still, starting plot hooks, like initial plot hooks, we'll definitely have an episode on that in the future. But starting plot hooks, one of my go-tos for my world is you're at the reading of an adventurer's will. How do you know that adventurer? And the adventurer will grant each player a magic item. And I will give players magic items based on their play style, based on like how they say they want their character to be.
Yeah.
And so one of the characters in my game is a ranger, and rangers are notoriously pretty bad, just like in general. Like they're not the strongest class. There's been rumors of a revised ranger, but I found that to make rangers good, you grant them some good magic items. So one of the magic items I gave to this player who is a ranger, like a reading from the will, he was granted that adventurer's bow, and the bow, you could bend the arrows to ignore like medium cover. And it's super cool because it's so flavorful, because like, oh my god, that's so cool, and that's gonna come in handy so much, even though in my games cover with enemies is kind of rare. But it's just a good way to kind of give players buffs. I'm very guilty of this. If a player, if I've noticed over half a dozen sessions that their player's damage output is pretty low, I'll give them a good magic item just to even the odds, So that's kind of an example. That bow is kind of an example of kind of buffing the ranger from day one.
It's very fatherly of you, I think, to pay such close attention to your players and then like fill in the gaps.
Oh man,
I like it. I think it's sweet.
I think that the classic like magic item that I love is the bag of holding. It's just a giant freaking backpack, and it's great. And you could there's so many shenanigans that you can do with it. I think that another item...
It's overpowered.
Yeah, it's so overpowered. It's great. Another one is the portable hole. I think that one's also interesting, but it's not necessarily used as much. And there's a lot of stuff that you can do with that. And I love the interaction between the portable hole and the bag of holding. It just it tears like a rift just in space and time if you put the portable hole on the bag of holding and just shoots.
David's breaking the game again.
Yeah. So
told you.
Dude, bag of holding, they're so OP. Like my players in my current game, they're going to the Isle of Chult, and they have a bag of holding. That's a big one that they paid a lot of money for. But when they venture into the jungle, they've got 200 gallons of water and 100 days ration of food. And it's just so I hope my players are listening. I'm going to take that from you.
Oh god.
Because it's so overpowered. It's so good.
Just make them fall in a portable hole tiger trap, and then their bag just implodes in front of their eyes.
There are some great mundane magic items in Xanathar's Guide that are just so silly and great. The one that's I think it's called the Tankard of Sobriety. Yeah. And it's just it's a tankard, like a beer glass with a stern face engraved onto it. And whatever alcohol you drink from it is non-alcoholic. And it's just so silly because you could just use it to win drinking contests.
Yeah.
Or to drink all night. It's ridiculous.
I just love the idea of magic items that you have to make use of. As a player, it just makes it more challenging and interesting than being like, hey, you have a sword that's +3, or you have a spell that can cast fireball. That's boring.
Absolutely.
I love trying to just make the most out of these items, like winning a drinking contest with that.
And then the players feel a sense of accomplishment when they pull it off.
Yeah, you feel like you've done something really cool.
It wasn't handed to you. Yeah. I think one of my players' personal favorite magic items that I gave to them was, I think it's from Xanathar's Guide 2. I think it's called Shield of Many Emotions. And it's just a shield with a face carved in it, but the face changes emotions. So it'll smile, and it'll open its mouth, and it'll cry, and it'll so based on what's happening in combat.
I'm picturing Thomas the Tank Engine's face on a shield.
That's really accurate. Great. So whatever's happening in combat, the shield is reacting emotionally. It's so funny.
So is the shield
and I think it's
sentient?
just the same stats. No, because I can't talk. It just reacts. Like it just emotes.
Oh my god!
And it's so funny because like it just adds to the combat because they're like looking at the shield and like, you know, they might be underwater and the shield's just like gasping for air. Or even though that's so silly, like, or like they'll be. And I don't think it has any additional stats. Like I think it's just a standard shield.
Yeah.
But they love it because its reaction. And a lot of times they'll even like tell it jokes and stuff and see if it laughs.
That's good. That's good.
Magic items are great.
Thank you for listening to Vox Arcana, Episode 4. I'm William.
I'm Jake.
I'm David.
We'll see you next time.